All right, good morning, team. I told you that I would give you some information about our next speech. So here it is. So the next speech that we are going to be doing is the informative speech. This one is similar to the news and media speech, that the structure is the same. You will need to do some oral citations, but what's kind of neat about this speech is that you can truly choose something that you're interested in. Well, let me talk about the speech itself, and then I can give you some ideas of what perhaps you can choose to talk about. So this is all on Google Drive, the documents I'll be showing you, so you can look in our Google Drive folder into the informative speech folder, and you'll be able to find these. All informative speeches should have an introduction, a body, and a conclusion with at least 3 verbal citations and 1 visual aid. So this is kind of new for us, having a visual aid, and we can talk about that in more detail next week. But in addition to some citations, you're going to need that. In terms of the introduction, your introduction should compel the audience to listen through the use of an attention getter, and it should provide a preview. We've done this a few times now, and the preview should include the thesis statement as well as an overview of the main point. So today I'm going to talk to you about 1, 2, and 3, right? That's the preview statement. The body, most informative speeches should contain no more than 3 points, organized in a way that helps the audience make sense of the message. So I know very often there's many points to something that you want to explain to folks, but a tricky thing about the brain is that we remember things in quantities of 3, 5, and 7. I almost never recommend somebody go the route of giving 7 main points, because just think about that personally as an audience member. Trying to remember where you are within a presentation becomes quite difficult. For the utmost success in this, use the simplest form of just 3 points, but you could go as much as 5. Please don't use 4. It's tricky for our brain to remember an even number. We do better with odds, actually. Okay, so once the main points and organizational pattern are set, identify what evidence supports which main point, and then put these subpoints in the correct location. So there's this idea of organizational pattern. There's multiple ways that you can organize your speech. You can do it chronologically. So I'm going to start from the past and come to the present. I'm going to start from the present and go to the past. I could do it spatially. So perhaps I want to tell you about the layout of a kitchen, the basic layout of a kitchen. And so we would start with, the sink, and then I'll talk to you about the cooking area and where, the stove is in the oven. And then I would talk to you about refrigeration. That's how you might move things around spatially. You can also use from most important to least important. And there's several other patterns, but we'll talk about that as we move forward. Their conclusion, all informative speeches should include a brief summary of the main points. Please, this is something that I hope everyone gets as they, walk out of class and grace the world with all of your newfound public speaking knowledge, but please don't provide new information in a conclusion. What we're doing audibly when we're giving a speech is giving our audience cues as to when they should perk up and listen and when it's time to stop attending to details. So when you say something like use a signpost in conclusion, today I've talked to you about 1, 2, and 3. At that point in time, you don't add 4, 5, and 6 because it makes our brains bonky. And then all of a sudden we're not sure when the speech is going to close. The reason that we give all of these signposts within a speech, today I'm going to talk to you about 1, 2, and 3, and you say to start, let's talk about 1, and we'll move to 2, we'll move to 3, and in conclusion, I talk to you about 1, 2, and 3, is so that we can keep the audience engaged and attending to the details of the presentation, as well as, keeping them at ease, because when things get out of order, it makes our audience unsure as to where they are in the presentation, and that we want to clap and support our teammates, the folks who are up and presenting. And when we don't know that information, we're not sure when it is that we're supposed to give that type of feedback. So no new information in your conclusion. And an effective conclusion leaves the audience thinking about the speaker's message. So we're not thinking about like, oh, did I miss point 6, 7, and 8? No, we're thinking about all that great stuff you told us about 1, 2, and 3. A detailed outline is mandatory for this particular assignment. So in the past, I haven't collected stuff from you. Now I will be. It should include the following sections: title, statement of specific purpose, thesis, introduction, body, including internal summaries and transitions, conclusion, and references. The outline must be in complete sentences and fully thought out. Remember, it's easier to cut information out if the length is too long. So what I'm asking you to do is kind of write out the script for your speech, right? And then as you practice that, you're going to wean the actual outline down that you use for your presentation. A bibliography and works cited page, or not and, or works cited page is required with your writing, your working outline. Use MLA format and include at least 3 sources that support your speech. You'll need to internally cite these sources within your outline as well. And again, you'll need to include a visual aid. So that's the details. Again, this is all accessible to you through Google Docs, but I want to show you a couple other documents that are in that folder that you might see if you're in there. So this is the rubric that I will be using to grade you during your presentation, and you'll see that not doing the outline is right off the bat a 20-point chunk to get off your grade. So make sure to turn in an outline for me, and also that your visual aids, so 40 out of the total points here, 150, account for those 2 things. And then we'll be looking at whether or not you chose a topic that was appropriate for your audience and relevant. Did you capture attention? Establish ethos. So that ethos statement is, hi, I'm so-and-so, and today I'm here to talk to you about X, Y, and Z. Hi, I'm so-and-so. I've been studying Micah, I'm saying Micah, my son. I've been studying my son for quite a long time. I've been studying microbiology for 20 years, and today I'm going to talk to you about this, that, and the other. So that statement is to help you let the audience know that you're qualified to be delivering this information. Providing a thesis statement. So what is the purpose of today's presentation? The purpose is to talk to you about microbiology. And then as we look deeper into this issue, we're going to talk about 1, 2, and 3. So that's that preview of the main points. Under the body, that you've explained your key ideas, you've supported your ideas with citations, and you've created clear transitions between those points. We did this in the news and media speech. So I just told you about this, and now we're going to talk about that. Now that we know about this, let's dive into that. Also, that you have credible and appropriate source material with oral and oral citations. It says oral citations twice. I'm sorry about that. Conclusion, that you review your major points, provide a memorable and creative conclusion, that no new information is there, and that you ended purposefully. So ending purposefully means, you know, at the very end of your presentation, after you've gone through your conclusion, in conclusion, today we talked about the importance of studying microbiology. We talked about this, that, and the other thing. I'm going to lead you into some or take you back to what I started with and say, now, do we think that studying microbiology is important? Of course we do. Thank you for your time today. So that statement of saying, thank you for your time today, is a decisive conclusion so that the audience knows, hey, it's time to clap. The presentation is over. Under your delivery, adequate eye contact. This one is more difficult to do since we're on you know, on camera and not together in a space in person. But, and here I am looking off to the side. I'm going to try to make this better. I have my little camera guy over here. To remedy that, I just pulled myself to the center of the screen, so I'm looking at myself as I'm talking. That's wonderful. Also, I want to draw your attention to my screen right now. Obviously, I have my background. That's because I am at home, which is kind of fun because I have a screen here. So I know what's going on behind me, and I can change it based on what it is that we're talking about. And also within the shot itself, be adequately framed, right? So I encourage you, if you are looking in your camera, what we're seeing of you, that might not be the best way to present. It's certainly a way, and it's good because I can see you, but going from got a shiny head, so it's okay. A little bit is cut off. The back. Whole head in there, unless it becomes important that you need to. Let's make the most of what we have in front of us so that we can give the best messages we can. Purposeful gestures and movement. So again, if I'm using my hands, we want to make sure that it's not just like I'm doing it for no reason at all. You know, I don't know, I'm talking about molecular biology. If I start doing this with my hands, it looks a little wacky. Or if I'm moving, right, Cole, get that chair stationary for me. It will just help to maintain the messages, because as a viewer, you don't know where you're supposed to look if someone is all over the place. So we'll just try to make that purposeful. Please smile. I know sometimes this is almost 100% all the time. 90% of the time, smile during your speech. Make it look like you're not being tortured while you're up there, okay? Up there while you're in front of us. There are times, of course, that maybe you shouldn't be smiling the whole time, or laughing your way through a eulogy would seem a little strange, but for the most part, the audience wants to know that you're enjoying your time up there, and that helps them to engage with your messaging more. If we feel like that person doesn't want to be there and they're super sad or, you know, really angry, it's not as engaging to look at. So do your best to smile a bit as you're presenting. Clear, concise, inclusive language. You don't want to inadvertently turn your audience off from your message by using, you know, words that might turn people off. Also, pronunciations. Please make sure that if you're going to be saying a large word within your presentation, that you practice how to say it before you do. So if you're not quite sure what the right word is, ask somebody. Consistent rate, volume, pitch. So that's just how quickly you're going, making sure everyone can hear you. Hey, there's no concern with saying it before you get started. Just doing a mic check, and everybody hear me okay? And that's great. That's called preparation. Extemporaneous style. So this is where I'm going to get you guys who've been reading to me. Pull back a little, and then I want you to practice the speech. So I want it to come off like you are telling me a story that you're deeply engaged with. You can have your notes there to make sure you cover all of the points, but I really don't want you reading this one. Your vocal disfluencies, ums, ahs, likes, you knows, please try to keep those to a minimum. If you hear yourself starting to say them, take a deep breath, assure yourself that you can do this, and move ahead. And meeting presentation guidelines, so time guidelines. So this would be, the speech is from 5 to 7 minutes. So you have to fall within there. So this is not just meeting 5 minutes, but staying under 7 minutes. If you go above, that shows me that you didn't practice. We talked about visual aids, and we'll talk about those in more detail going ahead. And then I have one more document. I am trying to not make this an incredibly long video, but I do want to get you all the information. As we've had in the past, I've created a quick outline for this speech for you. This is the starting point. So think of this as a worksheet, and then I want you to translate this to an actual outline that you will submit to me with your bibliography or works cited page, as well as doing your presentation. So this should help just guide your thought process, and after that you can create your actual outline. As you can see here, I'm asking you to know what your purpose is, what type of attention-getting device you plan to use, and it just walks you through the whole thing there, that you can just walk through this and basically write your speech, but then again, please translate it so it looks something like this informative speech outline that I have at the end here. We want your speech outline to look more like this. Okay, guys. So with that being said, you have a really cool opportunity in front of you to tell your students, your classmates and me, some stuff that we don't know about. And what I always want you guys to do is talk about something that you're passionate about. So if you are someone who is passionate about all of the Marvel universe, that would be a wonderful informative speech to give to the class. Now, that's huge, right? Like Marvel universe is huge. So you're going to have to drill it down to something that you could talk about between 5 to 7 minutes. So what are the main points? Maybe it is like 3 of my favorite movies from the Marvel universe are, and why, and then support those things. In terms of citations for that, you could probably take some quotes from each of the movies, or have a quote from one of the actors or writers who talked about it. A how-to presentation is also a lovely way to do an informative speech, and so important too, just for your success as an individual in life. To know how to break something down into a how-to is really important. So let's say you are someone who is really great at, I don't know, I'm just like making pizzas coming to my head. You can write a speech on how to make the perfect pizza and take us through steps. One, maybe you'd want to have 5 steps, because maybe it would be like making the dough, doing the toppings, actually cooking it. I don't know. You'd have to figure out how many steps you'd want. But a how-to speech is a lovely speech to do in order to, hit your informative speech guidelines. If you are studying something in another class that you've put a lot of time and effort into, you could also use that for your informative speech. So I'm not here to poo-poo anything. If you want to explore a topic in more detail, or you already have explored a topic and you really enjoy it, I don't know, like the Renaissance, and you want to talk to us about, the 3 to 5 things we need to know about the Renaissance to be experts in it. That's great. That's a wonderful topic to use. Use something, I have no problem. You do not have to reinvent the wheel in terms of preparing yourself for a presentation. And if you're unsure, definitely come to me and ask, but you can also use Google and say like great ideas for informative speeches, and there are thousands and thousands of topic ideas right at your disposal. Okay, I'm going to end there, and we're going to talk next week in more detail about your outlining and your visual aids for the speech. But if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to bring those up in class or to email me, and I'm looking forward to what you guys come up with. Okay, guys, talk soon.